You are listening to The Michael Lodge Show. Wealth, business, and taxes. Oh yeah, and some politics. Let's get started.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. This is Mike Lodge. Time to talk, time to have a little conversation. And again, today we're talking about business, and I love business because that's what I talk about is business. I've been doing this since 1984, and I love it. You know, when I was a kid, I was a strange kid. I remember my dad worked for an oil company, and I knew at that time that oil was something. I knew that it made a lot of money for a lot of people. So I decided at a very young age to start reading the Wall Street Journal, and I read it every single day. And I learned a lot. But back then, the Wall Street Journal was not political at all. It was pure business. It was what was happening in the markets, what was happening in contracts, what was happening in real estate. It covered a whole bunch of conversations on business, except politics. And now I would have known about politics because I loved politics back then also, because I came from a political family. I came from a family where we talked about politics on Saturday afternoons or Sunday afternoons after lunch. We even do during lunch sometimes. And so I knew about politics, and I always paid attention to it, but I never saw anything that was glaring like is now on politics in the Wall Street Journal. So I stopped reading it. Just a year ago because it was just becoming too political. And I hate that. And I always feel that business and politics, office work, professional work, and politics is always a wall that should be divided in there. And it should never overflow into the other, because it causes divide within the staff, and it creates conflict. And I'm telling you, we have gone through a nasty, nasty political season. In fact, for the last 4 years, it's been nasty and dirty and corrupt. It has been. And it wears down on you. I know it's worn down on me, and I know it wears down on people who are in an office together, and you hear political talk going on, and it frustrates people. It offends people a lot of the times. So we went through a really bad political season, and now it has moved over into the workplace. Because I know I'm hearing mediation sessions on workplace issues, conflict. And I want to tell you something. If you have conflict in your office, in your business, you better resolve that conflict quickly. Because it goes into the office, that conflict, even if it's just between two people, but it affects everybody within that office, everyone within that department or project group or whatever you're in. And production goes down drastically. And that costs a company a lot of money. Productivity slows way down because they're not quite sure who to talk to or what to say, because it could set anything off in the office. So it drastically reduces productivity, and it costs you a lot of money because things are getting done slowly, and sometimes they're not getting done at all. So if you have conflict within your office, resolve it very quickly before it gets out of control. And sometimes it even gets into a heated situation. And that's where it becomes dangerous. Once the conflict gets heated, it not just ruins your profitability, but it ruins your professionalism in the office, and it can get violent at certain times. So resolve conflict. As soon as you see conflict, get a mediator in there and get them working on that conflict and resolve it so that you can go on. I'm going to tell you about a political situation that happened in an office in Oakland, California. In March of this year, of 2020, I received an email requesting mediation in a company located way up there in California, Northern California. And it was a political conflict. Employee workplace conflict, all focused on politics. And it disrupted the office. So the story goes like this, that the manager of the company had one employee that was really right-leaning and expressed his views on politics. The other two employees in the conflict were left-leaning and expressed their views also. But they were so pissed off at this other guy that they wanted to get him fired. They wanted him out of the office. They wanted him out of the company. So you had an issue where you had two individuals harassing this other individual. And it is harassment, because you cannot harass anybody based upon their beliefs. So it became a conflict of harassment by two individuals who wanted the other individual fired. That's not a good situation to be in. This is going to happen more and more. And in this situation, there are a lot of hostile threats against the one employee. And so the manager finally said, I got to mediate this. I got to get a mediator in here so that we can resolve this. But we're going to have a lot more, because politics is a heated subject. Remember what they always used to say, never talk about politics or religion around the dinner table? Well, I'm going to tell you that's a true statement. And you don't do it around the dinner table. You just don't. And you don't do it in the office. Rules have got to be set up. Now, you see this in office place all over the place where there are conflict, political conflict. It's happening more and more. And I take a good example, okay? There are certain applications that I use that I use in my office that sometimes has political thought in there. LinkedIn, as an example. LinkedIn is a professional place, and it's an extension from my office to reach out to people, to do marketing through, to talk to them about different issues, to learn from them, to build relationships. That's what I view LinkedIn as. Yahoo is nonsense. Instagram is nonsense. Facebook is nonsense. So I don't ever do business there. It's just, there's no business there because everybody is there for nonsense. But LinkedIn is a different place. It is an extension of my office, extension of my professionalism, and it is an extension to reach out to other businesses and other people that may need my service, or I may need their service. But the problem is that people want to post political nonsense on there. And then if you read the thread of everybody that's commenting, it becomes hostile. You get some hostile comments back. Not as bad as you get on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or any of those other places. But these are mean comments. So it creates a conflict. The same thing happens in the office. It creates conflict. Yeah, we want to be able to express our views, but there are certain places where you do it. Because when you're working as a team and you're getting paid for something, you have to abide by their rules. And politics should not be one of those things that are within a company, because it creates so much division and rifts and anger. You don't want that in your company, because that slows down your productivity, and it costs you a whole bunch of money to resolve, and also a whole bunch of money of people not doing their work because they don't know what to do. There was a good study that came out from Comply. They did a 2020 study on workplace politics in the workplace. This is what they came up with, okay? So the first one is a survey. And they ask the question, does your company have written policies on time off for voting in political discussion at work. 49.2% surveyed said they had no written policies on politics or voting. 42%, that's a high number. 36.1% surveyed said they have policies for time off for voting. 6.7% surveyed said they were not sure if they had any written policy on politics or not. 6.1% surveyed said that yes, they have policies on political discussion at work and time off for voting. 1.9% surveyed said yes, they have policies for political discussion at work. Only 1.9%. That's not a very high number. If you want to relieve a liability, the risk of having an employee conflict, get yourself a written policy that states on talking about politics and work and also about voting. But specifically identify discussion of politics and work. How much of a risk is it to you? How much of a divide is it going to create within your division? How much is it going to create a situation where people want people fired because of how they believe? That is harassment. It's discrimination. So you have to focus on that. And in today's environment, it is not a pretty sight. I am telling you, it is not a pretty sight. Then they went on and they asked another question. The question was, what are your current company policies on political discussion at work? 60% surveyed said that we have a written anti-harassment policy that states any discrimination and harassment against any protected class covered by federal, state, and local law will not be tolerated. And that includes harassment because of the way that you believe politically. 40% surveyed said we prohibit political discussions during working hours. Good idea. I say that's great. And then they also came up with 40% surveyed said we have a formal complaint procedure for employees to follow when they feel harassed or discriminated against. 20% surveyed said we have clear guidelines for discussing politics at work. This is going to be an issue, and I am bringing this up to you because when you're running a business, you're already hit with a whole bunch of different things. And one of them is you do not want to have harassment and discrimination going on in your work where you have a workplace conflict that creates and costs you money. You're already trying to survive as it is, and for a harassment complaint to come up would even be worse. If you don't think that's going to cost you money, it's going to cost you a bundle of money. So when it comes to politics in the workplace, this is the way I view, it should not be discussed at work. And there should be very clear policies on politics and how it should be frowned upon two politics at work because it creates divide. Otherwise, I would not be mediating workplace conflict situations where two people want to fire another person because they don't believe in the way that he believes. He is evil to them because of how he believes. And that is a conflict that will cost you a bundle of money, productivity will go down, and there will be constant conflict within the whole group because you didn't have a policy in place. So it's something that you need to really think about because I tell you, I have been in companies and I have literally seen the conflict. I've heard it, I have felt it. And it's not a good situation when it goes out of control. And I'm afraid to say this, even though I love politics with all my heart, and a lot of my podcasts I deal with politics, but in the workplace, it creates a lot of havoc. Because people think with their emotions, and they get very emotional about how they believe. And there are other people who believe totally different from the other person. And they clash. If you hear traffic driving by, it's because I have all of my windows open today. It's 72 degrees. We have a breeze that's coming off the ocean, and it's nice and cool. The air conditioning's off. It's a great day. So if you hear cars driving by, that's what you're hearing, because I've got all of the windows open, and I don't care. I don't care if it's making sound on this podcast or not. It feels so good to get fresh air. I love it. But getting back to the conflict of politics in the office, it's very important that you sit down with your HR team or with your attorney and draft a policy that identifies the need for a very clear understanding of how politics end in the office, and how you deal with things and how you deal with complaints, and that you feel that it is a sense of harassment, which it is. If people want other people fired, and if they're threatening them with verbal remarks, that's harassment. And it will get worse. And it's going to get worse, and it's going to get worse. Over the next 4 years, I'm telling you, it's just going to get out of hand. And if you notice that, even if you read political comments in Yahoo, or not Yahoo, I don't even use Yahoo anymore, in Facebook especially, and in Twitter, it gets downright nasty. And you don't want that nastiness to flow over into your office where you have the same situation as what you have on social media. You don't want that to happen. So you can pass some precautions by having a policy on politics in the workplace. I suggest that every single one of you do it. Listen, this is Mike Lodge, and if you have any questions or if you have any comments, send me a text at 818-619. I'm sorry, what am I saying? 818-252-5682. 818-252-5682. That's the company texting number. Goes into our computer base here, and I can answer it very quickly. If you want to know what I do on my daytime job, go to www.lodge-co.com, and you can see what I do during the daytime. Buy a couple of my books there. Listen to my podcast. But just know that I do mediation, and I do business mediation and workplace mediation, and I'm here to help if you need it. You can just send me a text at 818-252-5682 that you'd like to talk with me, and I'll be more than happy to do it. I always offer all my people a 30-minute free consultation on mediation. So if you feel that you need to go into mediation, don't hesitate to text me or call me at my office, which is 305-824-2963. Again, that's 305-824-2963. And I'll help you out if you need mediation. So everybody go out and have a great day. Remember, politics in the workplace, it never works. It divides. Don't let conflict get out of control. Talk with you soon. Everybody, have a great, 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 great day, and God bless. Bye-bye. This podcast is produced by Michael Lodge, fully focused on content. God bless everyone. Bye-bye.